All right, Black Box Radio. Listen, I am so excited. This is my first time on this month. I usually have done at least 4 or 5 interviews by this time. This is what the second week. Yeah, I'm usually putting it down. So this is my first interview. I'm so excited because it's with a black business, my brother. But it is just a pleasure to be on mic this evening. It's beautiful in Baltimore. It's warm, not cold, a little windy, but real, real nice. Summer's coming. Spring is springing. I'm feeling real good about it. And I just want to share it with the people, share it with the community. But anyway, I'm Queen. I'm a host at Black Box Radio. We are a multimedia platform. We illustrate Black excellence, we platform Black people, and we expose information to communities, and especially the Black community. We want you to share, subscribe, do everything. Check out Black Box Radio. Check out our content. We have a website, blackboxradio.com. We're on all the social media sites. Check us out. Our content is lit, definitely lit. But we talk a lot about community. You know, a lot of times the Black community, we love to be entertained and do a lot of things. And this is entertaining, but we need information. And so entertainment is good, but if we can make information come across real cool and real fun, that's what we about. That's what we about at Black Box Radio. That's what we do. So please check us out. But tonight we are in our Black business segment. It is so fly to talk to Black businesses, and we got one tonight. Akil, you ain't new to the spot. You've been with me a few times. This brother is doing amazing things with math, guys. You know they say we weak in math, and Black African people are math. So we just need to understand it a little more. It needs to be presented, and this is what he's doing. He's breaking it down. He's giving it to you in a way that you can understand it. He has a YouTube channel. I encourage you to please subscribe to that, All This Math. On YouTube, he has instruction videos. He's breaking down problems, things that you might be a little confused. He got a lot of videos there. Go check him out. Check him out. Akil, say hi to the people. We so happy to have you in the box. Say hi.
How you doing? How's everybody doing out there in TV land or YouTube land or Facebook land?
Absolutely. That's where everybody's at. YouTube land. Please subscribe. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to Black Box Radio. All right. All this math. I'm excited to talk about this because I think I was a science major in college. This is full transparency, Akil. Mm-hmm. And science is married to what? Math.
The math, yeah.
Yeah, they got a real great relationship together. And I was always kind of scared of the math. I would have probably been an engineer if I wasn't scared of the math. So I want to talk about that tonight, like math, all like concepts about math, and why as Black people we tend to be a little afraid of math. Why do you think that?
So I think it's several reasons. One reason that comes to mind is like the language difference, like the way mathematics is taught, the way it's written about in most popular textbooks is written way that is what you would call like a form of standard English that many of us may not really be exposed to, or may not be as comfortable with.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like math is its own language at the same time. So math is its own language. So the way like the English language might be used to describe a mathematical process or mathematical concept might be different from how you would use standard English and just, describing a typical situation. So it's another like kind of like English language that you have to like really learn so that you can use it in, mathematical processes, so, and it can be intimidating. There's a lot of propaganda, a lot of negative propaganda and false propaganda around our ability and, people, which is meant to ensure that the status quo is maintained, that, we'll be, the permanent underclass, with the exception of a few of us that may gain some type of education. So we become part of like, I guess, the Black middle class or the Black upper middle class or what have you. Mm-hmm. But so the masses of us are still expected to not be able to excel in mathematics. And, I definitely I agree with Amos Wilson. And when he talks about the political necessity for Black people to not be able to excel in mathematics, because it definitely maintains the status quo, because math is much deeper than the formulas and the equations. Mm-hmm. It's about training our brains to think critically in any situation, in all situations. It's about training us to think in terms of consequences and consequential thinking, because that's really all word problems are. Any word problem that you ever see in a math textbook, or any situation or any scenario, any type of textbook, could be a physics textbook or a chemistry textbook. Yeah. It's really just consequential thinking, because what happens is you're given background information about the situation, and then you're asked to find out what would happen in this scenario if this happened. So basically, what would be the consequences of adding more of this to the mixture, or what would be the consequences if you size of this object by this much or by this factor, so that really trains you to think consequentially. And when you're a human being that can think consequentially, and it's just innate to you because you've been trained that way, then you can kind of navigate the world in a much more responsible way and better decisions. But again, there are always people that will benefit from people not being able to make good decisions for themselves, so there's this Latin term that is called cui bono, which means, who benefits, which is the question that we always have to ask. So whenever we talk about problems in the community, we got to keep in mind that, for every problem, somebody's benefiting from that problem. Somebody is winning. For every loser, there's a winner, right? So even though, and sometimes a lot of people will say, well, this is a problem, so we think that we're all kind of in this together, that something is problematic for everybody. And it's not. It's problematic for this group of people, maybe this large group of people, but then you might have this corporation over here, or these corporations over here, government entities over here, they're benefiting from the problem.
Yes.
And if we're not able to think consequentially and able to think critically, then we won't even know. And these people that are benefiting will come kind of slide up next to us yeah, that's messed up. That's messed up that happened. And if you don't know how to think mathematically and see the situation for what it is, then you'll actually think that those people that just slid up next to you are really on your side, when in fact, they sliding up next to you to find out what's going on, to see how successful they have been at creating the problem and then maintaining this problem. So all of that, just being able to see the world that way, that comes from math. That's a mathematical form of thinking, looking at the equation and seeing it for what it is. So, to people that might be watching this wondering when am I going to use this stuff? Why do I need to know this? That's one of many reasons you need to know math, because when you understand math, you can know when somebody's trying to play you. You can know when somebody's trying to lie to you, to your face. People lie to you with a handshake and a smile. And if you don't know that they're lying because, you don't understand what's going on, you don't understand how to recognize contradictions, you don't know how to recognize falsehood, then you'll just go for it, But all of that is really, it's embedded within those equations, those exponents, those formulas, those word problems that you are supposed to be taught in elementary school, middle school, high school, even in college. But a lot of times it's embedded within it. So you can't see it on the surface.
Yeah.
You can't see it on the surface. A lot of people shy away from it, and they kind of jump on the bandwagon of people saying this is irrelevant. I don't see the relevance, but you might not be meant to see it early on. Sometimes you got to have hopefully you have a teacher that you can trust, grown man, grown woman that you can trust. That's stay with me. I'm sure you how to do this. And a lot of times the relevancy will reveal itself later on. And
wow.
Okay, so if I understand this and I do this way, then this might be, you might be doing problems in class that are very irrelevant to your life. You might not care about problems at all. The content of those problems that your teacher gives you. But that's just a framework though. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you go to Target, you buy some picture frames for your house, and they got the stock photo in the picture frame. You're not gonna, put the picture of that white family up in your house, probably, right? You take it off, you take the cardboard piece off the back, you take the stock photo out, and you put your picture inside. So, but the frame is still there. So, knowing how to do a mathematical word problem is just a framework. Teaches you step by step. Okay, when I'm in this, I see this type of situation, and I have different quantities and amounts that are related to each other in this certain type of way. Even if it's something that I don't care about, that's fine. But then I can apply information that I do care about, and I can put that into the mix, and then I can actually use the same formula in the same, do the numbers in the same way, do the same addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I can factor the expressions, do whatever I do over the answer, and I can solve the problem. you know. So, but that's how we got to start looking at math. But those are like explicit conversations that we got to have with young people. And, you know, I do that on my YouTube channel, you know, so
Yeah.
I have those conversations with young people, and not only young people, but the adults too, the parents.
Yeah. A lot of us need this, not just young folks.
Yeah, because the parents were once upon a time the young people that were sitting in class that didn't understand. It was totally lost,
That's
and they
true.
just matriculate, and they still were able to matriculate, and you know, kind of, you know, passed on, you know, from next one grade to the next. Because a lot of times in school, like if you learn how to play the game of school, you know, and learn how to do the paperwork the right way, if your paperwork is straight, you know, you copy enough assignments down, you know, you sit
You're
next.
gonna pass.
Yeah, you're a young brother. You sit next to the cute girl, and you copy her homework, copy her classwork, turn it in. You know, you might not really know algebra, but you could pass algebra. You know,
Mm.
you could pass geometry if you care enough and if you try. You know, a lot of school districts, it's like 60 is passing. You
Hmm.
know, school system would tell you, okay, nah, yeah, you ready for algebra 2. You're not ready for algebra 2. They lying. But
They
like,
really lie.
yeah, they can't hold everybody back though.
They can't hold everybody back. But it
Yeah,
sounds like math has a pathology. Like, from what I'm hearing, what you're saying is like if it's almost like self-defeating. It can defeat you if you don't understand the concept. That's something that you need, and you don't even know you need it. That's the thing about it is, you go to school, you're like, why am I learning this? I'm never going to use a quadratic equation, or I'm never going to use a isosceles triangle. But you need to know those concepts. I
yeah.
like how you broke that down.
But and it's not even about so much. I mean, the concepts are cool. The concepts are cool and great. You might, I mean, if you like, you know, a contractor, you know, you're trying to like, you know, renovate, rehab a house or something,
That's
or
different.
lawn care business, or you're just trying to get an idea of, you know, how large a space is or something, then you might use some of those geometric, you know,
Yeah.
steps. But really, it's about methodology. It's really about methodology. It's really about learning. The other part, in addition to cultural, I mean, not cultural, but critical thinking and consequential thinking, is problem solving. It's the
Mm.
ability to solve problems. Like so many of us, we don't know how to solve problems because we never learned how to solve problems. You know, a lot of people they resort to, you know, talking loud. If I could talk louder than you, if I could curse more than you, if I could, you know, be more aggressive than you, maybe I could bully you into winning and getting my way. But what happens when you match up with that person that's not scared of you? Then what?
Mm.
How you use those methods to solve that problem then in that situation? It's not going to work.
Not gonna
So if
work.
you don't really know problem solving, I mean, a lot of people call it conflict resolution. We can call it conflict resolution. But if you don't really know like conflict resolution, and they're like this a systematic way to go about it, you know, you start with a problem, identify the problem. It's like scientific method almost, right?
Hmm.
And start with the problem, identify the problem, uh, identify key components, you know, and then you say, okay, well, what's the method that other people have used to solve this type of problem before? That's where the formula comes into play. So you
Okay.
know the formula. So then I say, okay, I got the formula. And then I say, okay, well, let me take the numbers from my problem, or take the situation and plug it into the formula, and then see what happens, you know. But like doing the math, again, it trains us to think that way. And it trains us to think in terms of being problem solvers. But a lot of us never learn that.
So you're talking about the training that math does, and
Yeah,
it puts your mind in a place where you're learning how to be a critical thinker. You're learning to be a consequential thinker. You're learning problem solving skills, and that all applies to life and
exactly.
to negotiate life. Wow.
Exactly. That's the things that you know, like I didn't know that in the beginning of my teaching career. Go into the classroom, I'm thinking like, all right, I got to show y'all how to solve these equations.
Mm-hmm.
Things that I had to learn, you know, on my own. Fortunate for my students, the education majors at Cheney that I teach, I'm able to give them this game early on. So they already get to know it, you know, because I had to learn it the hard way so that they don't have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with mathematics, it's really like I said, it's about methodology and it's about methods, like
Methods.
in ways of thinking. But a lot of people, because of the way they're taught or the way they're schooled, I would say, in
Mm-hmm.
school classrooms, they're kind of stuck on the surface level, you know, like this
Mm.
of this equation. It's like, I mean, you know, and there's so much negative propaganda around mathematics as well,
Yes.
because the same criticism that people have of mathematics would never apply to a lot of other things that we encounter in life. You know, like we don't ask the question about like, well, why, you know, like athletes don't ask the question like, why I gotta do these jumping jacks? Like why I gotta run, why we gotta do splits or sprint, you know, why we gotta do these different like drills and whatnot. We're not gonna do this in the actual game.
That's true.
But on the actual field, you know, but we understand it's conditioning.
Yes.
Preparing you for the game. So when it's game time, you're ready. So with math, it's the same thing. Like it's preparing you for, you know, to know how to think, and you can apply that in any life situation. But you know, we're up against a lot because like I said, like there's a political necessity, you know, and it transcends race. But you know, I'm a black man, so you know, you got to take care of home first. So I'm most well, how this affects the black community. You know, that's my responsibility, right? So, you know, there definitely has to be, you know, a necessity for us to not understand these things, for us to, and also believe in this idea that we can't do it, because that lack of confidence is real too, you know, because like I'll encounter students, and I have encountered students, you know, in tutoring and whatnot. And, you know, it really is like, you know, when I get to know them, I'm like, you know, your skills aren't bad. You know, you're sharp, you're intelligent. You just don't believe. You've been programmed to believe and conditioned to believe that you can't do math. You've been conditioned that way. And there's a reason for that. You know, there's nothing like, again, somebody benefits from that. You know, when you think about like, you know, the job market, you know, and it kind of like it ensures that there will be an uneven playing field. Because if you got all these people, you got hundreds and thousands of black children growing up, going to school, thinking that math is too hard, they can't do math, they never will be able to do math, then math is irrelevant, I don't need to know how to do math, then you lock yourself out of so many opportunities. And you got the kids in another part of town that might go to another type of school, they're a little more comfortable because now they don't have as much competition. Because it's hundreds of thousands of kids. It's already like they're already kind of disqualified. They've been disqualified from competition. Wow. They already believe like, well, I can't do math. So that the whole STEM area is off limits to you. And you took yourself out, right? So it was programming. It's like Carter G. Woodson type stuff. It's like Miseducation of the Negro type stuff. What he said, his famous quote, like, you know, if I can control the thoughts of a man, I don't have to worry about what he's going to do. I don't got to try to control his actions. I know what he's going to do because I know what I taught him to think. I know I told him to think about himself. So once you teach people like, no, I can't do math, or math is too hard. Now that's like, you know, that's less competition. So now, like, you know, somebody in the suburbs or somebody goes to like, you know, a highfalutin, expensive private school. Now they know, okay, well, I don't have as many people to compete with for these limited jobs. You know,
it's not that they're more brilliant. It's just that they have more information.
More information, more exposure.
More exposure to access. Yeah. And so that puts them in a place where you aren't.
Yeah. I talked about this last night. I was down in Baltimore. Shout out to City Council President Nick Mosby. He put me on to speak at their meeting, at their city council meeting. So I was talking about, you know, I spoke for about 5 minutes, you know, something small about what I've been doing at All This Math and what my goals are, you know, in terms of community, develop math proficiency and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I talked about the fact that, you know, like we went to Poly in Baltimore and we were exposed to resources and opportunities that a lot of people in a lot of other schools wasn't, that didn't get exposed. And it's still like that to this day.
Yeah.
But so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to level the playing field. You know,
I love it.
Because I want everybody to have access to like, you know, top tier, you know, math instruction, so we can all, you know, we can all eat. But you know, the thing is, it's funny. I was thinking about like, you know, like I might be a little crazy because like, you know, what happens is I got 3 children, right? So with the work that I'm doing, I'm actually creating more competition for them, right? But I believe in competition, you know, and I don't even like, you know, and I think more people should want more competition because more, you know, when people embrace capitalism is supposed to be about competition. That's what it's supposed to be about. I'm not a huge fan of capitalism. I try to navigate it, you know, because there is the system in place right now, but I don't think it's the most humane system for people. But But I think that it exposes another contradiction, that people that do embrace, capitalism and are die hard about it, they should want more competition, but yet they still tend to try to rig the game so that they'll have limited competition.
Because capitalism is not about competition. It only presents that way. It's about protecting a certain dynamic and whatever it takes to protect it. So it's not,
Yeah.
I wish it was about competition, but it isn't. But you segue into where I wanted to go, particularly because I want to hear more about all this math, because we just jumped in. I wanted to talk about why we feel that way. So kind of tell us who you are, how'd you start all this math, all of that good stuff. Let's get into that a little.
Well, who I am, man, I'm just a brother, just trying to play his part, trying to make the world a better place, in real time. But I'm trying to do more than just give pep talks, because I give pep talks. I do give pep talks, and I try to motivate people and whatnot. But I realize that at some point, you got to kind of juxtapose the pep talk with rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty and doing some actual work and giving people actual skills. Because there's one thing to motivate children to say yeah, you should do this, you should stay in school, you should work hard and all this and that. But a lot of people that are saying those things, they don't know what's really going on inside the schools. And they're basing those conversations around what they think should be going on inside the schools, which is fine.
Or might have went on when they were there.
Yeah, or might have went on when they were there. But
exactly. School has changed. Trust me.
Yeah. And there's some schools that are just like reflections of the block. They
go out.
Schools where I would tell the young brothers after class, be safe. I give them a pound, class was over, or see them in the hallway in between classes, be safe. And it was that wasn't just a colloquialism. That was real.
Real. Yeah.
Out here, not in the building.
In the building. Wow.
Because anything can happen, and a lot of schools are like that. So it's often not an environment that's conducive to learning, so all this math is kind of it's an outgrowth of my, me recognizing that that's the situation in a lot of schools. And, again, I taught high school math, and I'm still teaching, but just in a different capacity than, the formal classroom setting. So I taught at several different charter schools in Philadelphia. And then I taught in traditional public schools in Philly also as well. Currently an adjunct professor at Cheney University. I've also taught at LaSalle University here in Philadelphia. That's why I really learned math methods and Common Core math and the new math that, a lot of the parents hate. And I understand, because I had to really study it to understand it myself. But it takes studying. It takes studying. And I'm sure it's a lot of teachers in the classroom right now that don't know what they're doing because they're not intelligent, but because you got to study that. You got to study, there are curricula that's out there that is really complex, and I think it's beneficial. But as a teacher and a practitioner, you got to have time to really sit with it and really study it and learn it and practice it. And you got to make mistakes, while you're trying to teach it. You got to learn what works and what doesn't work. And I think the benefit of being able to make those mistakes and really study that curriculum, the so-called new math that, what is commonly known as the new math or the Common Core. So do that. So, and it's helped me, because actually it's helped me to develop a love for mathematics, because I've gained a conceptual understanding. So I never really had a conceptual understanding of math throughout all my my entire K through 12 experience. I knew algorithms, and I knew the procedures, and I knew the formulas. I could memorize formulas, because it was like playing video games. You just memorize, okay, where I got to go to beat this level. What do I got to do? What weapon do I need? Where do I got to run to? Is there a cheat code to it? Do I got to do up, down, left, right, A, B, start? What do I got to do to get the extra lives? Whatever I got to do, I'm going to just do it. So I looked at math the same way. But if you asked me years ago, what's happening when you're doing long division? What does that mean? I couldn't really tell you. I couldn't speak intelligently about that. I just know this is what you do first, this is what you do second, this is what you do third, and then you keep doing it until you get to the answer, until you run out of the digits, and then you got the answer.
I think that's how we all think of it.
Yeah, but But it's like and I think that right there is why it's difficult for some people to develop a love for math, right? Because it's so like, I mean, it's kind of like I said this at this conference I was at. I was at the National Association of Mathematicians conference at Hampton University this past weekend. I presented a paper, right? And I was talking, it was another session, and it was talking about, just math and how do we recruit math majors and how do we retain math majors. And I was talking about, a lot of people's experience in K through 12 with math. And the problem is this, it's like a one-night stand. It's not real courtship. It's like you're not really trying to get to know her. You're just trying to like, wham, bam, thank you, man. So you really trying to do. You might not ever call her again. You might call her again, but you might not ever call her again. And if you don't ever call her again, then you cool with it. And she cool with it too.
Wow.
How math is taught. Like you don't really, because we always be like, what
you don't need it. Yeah.
We say a mile wide and an inch deep, right? Because we want to be able to say, like, the way the curriculum is set up, we want to be able to say that we covered these topics.
Okay.
That if the students learn the topics or develop the deep understanding of the topics, we just want to be able to say, like, that we covered this topic. So it's really exposure. So it's just like with how some people like date. We don't get to know people.
That's true.
It's very casual. It's very just much like, it's like it's very transactional.
It is
transactional. And as you don't even get the chance to really like to get to know her. Know her, like, and find out what she likes. You don't get to find out what you like. Both y'all are both emotionally unavailable.
I hear how you compare things. You break it. It's the language too. Let me tell you. Like when I'm listening to you, what you're comparing to is so relevant to like Black life or to just how we are that you get it. Like I'm getting everything you said. Like long division. What's that? You're right. You go to the end until there's no more to go. No more numbers. But how you framed it is like it's more than that. It's actually more than that. You need to get to know her and see how she actually applies and how you can utilize it in other situations. But because you don't feel any connection to her, you don't know her at all. You like, let me learn this right here and real fast and keep it moving. Exactly. And so that's what I hear. But the way that your delivery means a lot too. I think a lot of times in math, I was lost because of the teacher.
Yeah.
Just that alone changes the game. Having Black teachers teach math. Let's talk about that. How important is that?
I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's important. To see people to see yourself in the educator. I mean, that goes with anything. That goes with anything. And I think for Black people, considering the experience that we've had in Western society, in this, in America and whatnot, you gotta have Black people, teaching you things and making you feel that Black people can do things. Because there's so much, again, propaganda. Back to propaganda. There's so much propaganda that dictates to us that we're not capable and that we can only sing, dance, shuck and jive, rap, play sports. That's it. The bulk of the propaganda tells us that we can do that. And I'm not even saying that we should not do those things. There's nothing wrong with those things per se, individually. But when you look at it in the grand scheme of things and comparative to other things, other areas of life and other areas of existence, those should not be 85, 90% of our existence.
Absolutely. It does not move the culture, the community.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta have intellectual involvement. You gotta be able to do mathematics. You gotta be able to build things. You gotta be able to create things. It's gotta be more to a group of people than just that. But it's the marketing though. It's how things are marketing to make us.
And then, like you said, who benefits from that?
Yeah.
We have incredible talent. We are talented people, and like who benefits from us looking at just entertaining and being some part of entertainment or using our talent and our God-given talent when it comes to sports. Someone's benefiting. That is the reasoning why it's at the forefront. Am I correct?
You're definitely correct. It's very profitable.
No benefit if you know math. That's not no benefit in that.
It's very profitable. I think you just remind me a lecture that Amos Wilson gave. You know, that's one of my, you know, intellectual heroes. That's why I keep dropping his name. And I hope
That's your man.
that's watching this that never heard of Amos Wilson. I hope you Google him, and then YouTube
Google him. He the
go to
man.
all his lectures and grab some of his books.
Real talk.
Check my Amos Wilson section right here. Right.
Show us something, bro. Show him. Give us a aim. Show them something. Tell them that them books ain't just they're not props. They real books.
Understand lesson male violence, you know.
Okay.
This is black
violence. Okay.
Black self-annihilation in service of white domination. So when we talk black violence, I mean it is a thing, but we got to talk about it in the right way, right? We can't act like it's just black people just killing each other just because we just like killing each other. There's a larger system at play. You know,
that right there is serious.
A larger system.
Pick that up.
We got African-centered consciousness versus the New World Order, Garveyism in the age of globalism. This one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites right here. Awakening the natural genius of black children. Got that? You know,
love it.
You know,
and pick up, y'all. Pick up. Dropping gems.
Yeah. Developmental psychology of the black child.
Beautiful.
You know, so it's back when he was an African-centered Pan-Africanist psychiatrist.
And he's a psychologist. Understand that.
Yeah. So he was into the psychology already, the falsification of African consciousness.
Wow.
History, psychiatry, and the politics of white supremacy.
Love it. Amos Wilson is heavy. Self-hatred.
Yeah, these are like his most recent. I mean, he passed away in '95, but these are most recent publications from his African World Info Systems. There's another brother that's still with us, brother. What's the brother's name? Brother Sababu, I think. He's still publishing some of his old lectures and what.
Beautiful.
What is it? The psychology of self-hatred and self-defeat. And I got a couple more issues of manhood in black and white. This is manhood in black and white, and incisive look into masculinity and the societal definition of African man. But
excellent books.
This
is Amos. Black Power.
Yeah, the blueprint for Black Power. This is like the
look at that. That thing bigger than the Bible. That's something right there, bro. That's here. That's here. This guy was a scholar. He left us a lot of jewels. We got to pick up. It's in the book.
But now I lost my train of thought. Like I brought him up, and I can't remember why I was going.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we needed that little. People need to see that wasn't props, first of all, and they need to see that. Listen, this brother got some amazing stuff out here, and we need to make sure that we pick it up. He's an ancestor right now.
Definitely, yeah.
We definitely need to pick that up.
All of that influence.
But we were talking about what we talk about. We had a little sidebar with Dr. Wilson.
Because you have reminded me of something that he said in one of his lectures. I can't remember what it was though. It'll probably come back to me. What were we talking about though? We was talking about.
We were talking about how did now we did all this math, right? I don't know what we did. I'm gone too. We gotta bring some. We gotta come back because I don't remember where we were. Yep. That one blew us off. When we was talking about Amos, you brought Amos Wilson up. He was your man, but I forgot what we was talking about. But let me ask you a question. Being you're a scholar, I consider you a scholar. You know, you're a mathematician for sure. Now, your advocacy, your for the Black community. How does that infiltrate mathematics? How is that something that mathematics makes better or sustains?
So to that question, so I look at math as, again, not just a means to an end or just a bunch of formulas and equations. I look at it as a tool for liberation, you know, because again, it influences our thinking. You know, earlier, it enables to, you know, think more critically, enables to practice consequential thinking. It enables us to problem solve. So once you can do those things and do them effectively, then, you know, that's how you get, you know, out of the mess that you're in. That's something that, you know, Jacob Carruthers used to say, another late scholar, you know, in the African-centered movement, African-centered education movement, definitely. But, you know, you got to be able to do those things, you know, to get liberated, you know. Otherwise, you can't really, I mean, you might be able to make some money, but, you know, making money isn't necessarily going to liberate you as an individual. It's definitely not necessarily going to liberate the whole group, because oftentimes individuals will benefit at the expense of the larger group. So, and these are things we got to even at least just think about, how does our individual success, how does it affect the larger collective? Because sometimes individual success can be a benefit to the larger collective, but sometimes individual success can be at the expense of the larger collective. And then what the media will do is they'll play games and try to, I guess, magnify the achievements of a certain few individuals, and then say, well, look at these people. Like, these people are supposed to be representative of the larger Black community, Black collective.
That's what we see now. We see a lot of performing up, putting people in place.
But when you look at things mathematically, again, so to the math, look at things mathematically, you say, well, those people that y'all are, putting up on the pedestal and giving platforms to and giving exposure to, they only represent less than 1% of the population of Black people. So how is it that less than 1% of the population of Black people is going to be a representative for the entire 50 million Black people in the United States of America? If we just talk about the United States of America, doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
It's a tactic of manipulation. So again, but when you look at things through a mathematical lens, you're less susceptible to falling for that. And you start.
You're analytical. You got that power of thought.
You're much more analytical, and you're like, it's just like, I was thinking earlier today too. Like, I don't like being lied to. Like, I don't like being lied to. And I like to always be like on guard, like just to make sure like everything is cool. Make sure like everybody's telling the truth, nobody's lying. Because I don't like being lied to, and like, looking at things through a mathematical lens, you're always like able to test out, peep the scene, look at the scenario, and make sure everything adds up, make sure everything balances out. You're checking for contradictions. You're saying, oh, okay, well, but you said this, you just told me this, but yet you this. These two things are not equal. They're incongruent, right? Just like they're incongruent, right? And that's another. So yeah. So speaking of geometry, a lot of people don't like geometry because they might not have had a good geometry teacher. I was fortunate. Ninth grade, I had an excellent geometry teacher. Shout out to Mr. Bessics at Poly. A brother, real cool brother, sharp brother. Remind me of Teddy Pendergrass a little bit. It was real cool about how he went about things, and he knew his content. He had content mastery, and he had charismatic at the same time, right? But he taught me geometric proofs. But with proofs back then, I just was thinking I'm just doing geometry. I'm just like, okay, I'm doing geometry for the sake of geometry, and to get the good grades. But when you really think about proofs, what a proof is, it's just that. It's like you're proving a position. And you're not proving a position by like when you're in the barbershop, like, oh, I'm a yell louder than you. I'm a curse louder than you. I'm a resort to ad hominem attacks and disrespect you. So everybody gonna start laughing at you. So it's gonna make you look like you don't know what you're talking about, even though you're making a stronger point than me. No, I'm proving my position based on factual evidence and postulates and corollaries and things that are documented. I'm proving my argument. This is what I'm trying to prove, and these are the 5 reasons I'm gonna give you why this makes sense. And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna take you through step by step. That's what the geometric proof does. But again, you need a teacher to tell you that, to break it down for you. Unless you was like me, like me, I just wanted to get good grades, so I didn't really care. But for a lot of people, they need somebody to tell them explicitly, like, yo, how is this related to your everyday life?
Yeah.
Life, because you're going to be in arguments. You're going to be in disagreements with people. And you don't want to be just this person that just end up sounding silly. Because a lot of people, they rely on their feelings and they get emotional.
That's true.
You leave your emotion out of it.
Absolutely.
Like, how you feel is irrelevant. Like we say facts over feelings. That's all math is, facts over feelings. If you don't understand how to view things mathematically, you have no choice but to resort to your feelings. And you're gonna be in your feelings. Not to say that you should not.
That's a message.
Connected to your feelings, but you should be balanced.
That's a message right there, bro. That's a message.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how to, present an argument, provide factual evidence to substantiate the claim, and go from the beginning to the end. Right?
Right.
People would just be, and then people can be mad. You can be mad if you want to be mad. Okay, cool. But like, you can be mad. You can be mad all day that I tell you 2 + 2 is 4. But can you prove that it's not? I just proved to you that 2 + 2 is 4. So, because you feel like you want 2 + 2 to be 95, like now you're gonna start yelling and screaming and cussing and everything, and that's really what happens. And if you look at like a lot of social media, you see that.
Yeah.
People have feelings about things. And then they try to, kind of reverse engineer their positions, their positioning, to try to substantiate their feelings, right?
Right.
And it's
I see it all the time.
Yeah, you're moving the goalposts, you're changing the rules, you're doing all this type of stuff. Like I can tell that you never, you probably never really excelled in mathematics, or at least you did. You're trying to deny everything that you learned.
Wow.
Because
so from that, you can tell if a person's argument is succinct, if how much mathematics they comprehend. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that oftentimes when you see people that do make a succinct argument, it's because they have probably because they have some type of mathematical training.
Wow.
It doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case, but I would claim that the people that do tend to have more mathematical training. If you think about statistics, right? A lot of people don't understand statistics, and they don't understand like hypothesis testing and confidence intervals and things of that nature. And that's why, like, a lot of times when people make claims and make statements, they'll be like, "Y'all do this," or "That's why," or these niggas do this, or these do this. And it's like, wait a minute, how you gonna paint? How you gonna make that broad brushstroke like that? How you gonna like? Okay, you might have had that experience, and that's fine, right?
Absolutely.
Nobody can take away your personal experience, but you can't extrapolate your experience, which is on a micro level, into a micro situation.
Absolutely.
Just want to. Like, no, that defies logic.
That happens all the time, though, bro. People's argument is on how they feel. You know what I'm saying?
And then what happens is, like, there's these echo chambers that develop, and then
chambers.
You feel like, oh, well, everybody believes me. So now my sample is these 20 people that chime in, or maybe these 10 people that chime in and confirm my biases, commiserate with me. So now I feel like I know what I'm talking about. But your sample size is too small. But these are statistics concepts, right? Like that's not a scientific survey. Like 10 people can't confirm anything unless it was only 10 people on Earth.
Whoa.
You live in a world with 8 billion people on it. So you can't just say, but a lot of it is like people just want to say things because that's how they feel. And they have to resort to their feelings to, they have to resort to that because they've never really learned how to, think critically. A lot of
that comes from understanding math. That's what I'm getting from you.
I'm a firm believer. Now I know somebody might say, well, okay, so you mean to tell me that if I'm not strong at math, that means I lack critical thinking?
No.
That's not a position I'm taking. I'm not taking that position. But what I am saying is that when you do have a strong understanding of mathematics, I believe you will definitely have you have a strong ability to think critically. That will definitely be within you. And I actually would even say that a lot of the people that do have strong critical thinking ability, but claim that they're not good at math, I question that, the second assertion. I think they actually could be good at math and could excel at math if they applied themselves and just attempted to, practice the subject itself. Okay. But a lot of people have had negative experiences in school, so they try to stay away from it. And in their mind, they're convinced that they're not good at math. But that's a question you got to ask people too. Like, well, what metrics are you using to substantiate that claim that you're really not good at math? Who told you wasn't good at math? Oh, well, I failed a couple classes, and I said, well, wait a minute, let's unpack that. And this is something that I talk about all the time. How did you get those grades? So there's a couple of things going on. You know, I'm sure you had this experience in school too. Some teachers give partial credit. Some teachers don't.
Mm-hmm.
I value them both. But let's say you had a teacher that did not give partial credit in a math class. You're in Algebra 1 in ninth grade. Teacher doesn't give partial credit. You take a quiz. It's got 5 questions on it. For the first 3 questions, you get most of the work right, but you leave out negative signs. Those 3 questions are wrong. That's 60 points gone off the table. Number 4 and 5, you get those completely correct. So you get a 40 on the quiz. You get a 40 on the quiz, and you're saying, oh, I got a 40. I'm not good at math. I failed. I'm not good at math. If you don't have a teacher or a classmate or a parent or somebody to break that down and go through that quiz with you and do like a quiz review and say, well, you know, listen, you conceptually understood these problems. You understood the steps. You understood the processes. You just made a careless error on these 3 problems. That's why you got them wrong. You lost 20 points on number 1. You lost 20 points on number 2. You lost 20 points on number 3. You lost 60 points. That grade, that number 40 out of 100 is really not an adequate measurement of your ability and your level of understanding. But a lot of people have those experiences in classes, and then it compounds, and then they go to the next. So then they, and I, at the same time, it's like, you know, it's like Malcolm X said, if you don't believe you've done anything, then you can't do anything. So once you start to believe that you're not good at math, then you start to act like it. You start second guessing yourself. You start to say, oh, well, I got this answer. I don't think it's right. I don't trust myself because I don't think I'm good at math. Or because you didn't understand how good you really were. You never knew. Right?
Okay.
So that happens a lot. That happens a lot also. You know, like people don't really know. People just kind of like, they say, oh, well, this is my grade. I failed.
Yeah.
Like, failed, but
as a student, how do you actually gauge that? I mean, because you're getting your space from the teacher, or you're getting where, you know, like where you fit in the math equation and how good you are. Really, it comes from testing. It comes from school. How do you gauge that and say, listen, I'm really not that bad. I just need to learn another way. How do you gauge all of that?
I mean, somebody would have to have a conversation like this with you.
Okay, so it would have to be a breakdown by the teacher, in other words.
Yeah, but you know, to the I guess to the point about the teachers, a lot of teachers really are strained for time.
Yes.
They may not have the time to say, well, you know, I'm in this curriculum, I got to go into the next topic. I would take a whole class period and just review the quiz with everybody, as opposed to just giving it back and just letting them know what grade they got. Right. But we're on a time crunch. We're under time constraints. So, and again, remember that whole like mile wide, inch deep thing, because it's a one night stand. They're not trying to love her. Like math is for everybody. You don't fall in love with her. Right.
Yeah. So you can't have no relationship. You just learn it at that moment.
Yeah. Don't even kiss her. Right.
Not even a kiss, bruh.
Kiss her.
But you know what? I love that.
I was taught. That's how I was taught. So it's got to move on. We got to move on. We can't even talk about the quiz you just took. Right? We got to move on to something else.
Got to keep going. So then that's a problem, because what I see, are we really, because listen, if we don't have critical thinkers, if we don't have consequential thinkers, if we don't have problem solvers, we see it manifesting in society. We see how young people who can't think, young people who are not rational, they don't have the ability to sit back and think about it and scale. They can't even scale their thought. All of this manifests in society. You might say that you're teaching one group of kids and you're leaving it, but that group of kids that you're not teaching, you're going to see and hear from them. And you're not going to like what you're seeing and hear from them. So what are we doing? Are we teaching kids on a time schedule per a curricula? And then we talk again about standardized testing. We're teaching kids to pass tests in an allotted time, which gives pressure. Mm-hmm. What are we doing as a whole for society and Black community? Because this is really about the Black community. How do we get past this if our children can't critically think? We see it manifesting.
Well, as much as I try to like support individual teachers, mm-hmm. principals that are well-meaning, I have almost no faith in public school, no faith in charter schools. Well, no, let me be more precise. Let me be more precise, because math is about precision, right? I have that they're going to continue to do what they have done. And I also have faith that they're not broken. These systems are not broken. These systems work perfectly well to achieve the goal that they have been achieving.
That is their goal, is
So,
to not educate.
right. Because that maintains the status quo.
Absolutely.
Because once you start, because you think about what society would look like, what Baltimore would look like, if the young brothers that, people complain about the squeegee boys and whatnot. What if the squeegee boys was like knew how to do calculus? They might still be squeegeeing, but they might be on some like next level, like, be able to create like a larger operation and, ran with much more efficiency and effectiveness.
Even the tool of the squeegee, it might be something that can stand on the side.
Squeegee. Yeah, or maybe they, invent some type of like machine,
exactly. Real talk.
Squeegee where like, and maybe they say, they get together and organize and be like, we got to work on our customer service, because what happens is we're making some drivers uncomfortable, so maybe we should like invest in, just getting together and talking about, how can we approach drivers in a different way? Who knows? I'm just spitballing right now. But that's the point is, so to the point, but what if they knew calculus? What if they knew, what would they be doing? The people that are participating in community gun violence, like, what if they knew calculus and what if they knew pre-calculus? Would they be doing that? Because then, like, okay, well, the street becomes less appealing and less seductive to me if I have other options. As much as young people want immediate gratification, if you can say, well, you know what? Yeah, I want immediate gratification, but I might be able to delay it a little bit, because you telling me it's a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. I believe you. And I have the skills to get that pot of gold. I don't got to get lucky as a rapper. I don't got to get lucky as a basketball player. I don't got to get lucky as a football player. Like, no, like I really have tangible skills. Colleges are going to want me. They'll pay me to go to school to come there.
Real talk.
And I'll study these classes, and then I'll become an engineer.
Someone has to show you that. That's what you're saying.
Right. You got to be shown that.
You got to be shown that. Yeah.
So in the absence of that, those that benefit from there being community gun violence, because again, that's something we got to realize, because I think that's for a lot of people to wrap their heads around, that there are people that actually they may not advocate in public for it, but they're benefiting financially from the existence of community gun violence.
If it was, it would be gone. Trust me. And it will not persist unless someone's benefiting.
And here's something else too, right? I think about this too. So like, I'm a big fan of Kwame Ture. Kwame Ture was my guy. Influenced me so much. My youngest son is named after Kwame Ture. He gave a lecture in 1968. It was his talking about the Black United Front that he was working with some other people to put together. And it was part of a rally for Huey P. Newton. Huey P. Newton was in jail at the time. He was accused of murdering this Oakland cop, but really he was exonerated. Huey ended up being exonerated, but the Oakland PD tried to assassinate Huey P. Newton. So Huey defended himself, apparently, and ended up in jail, but he got out. One of the things Kwame Ture said in that lecture was, he was talking about the black bourgeoisie class. He said the black bourgeoisie class gets mad every time Rap Brown, talking about H. Rap Brown, who's somebody else we should know. He's a political prisoner right now. He wrote an autobiography that changed my life. The title of his autobiography is called Die Nigger Die. Right? The title of his autobiography. I recommend it to everybody. H. Rap Brown, Imam Jamil Al-Amin. He converted to Islam, later in his life. And he's a political prisoner right now. I think he's either in North Carolina or maybe, I don't know, somewhere out in the Midwest. But what Kwame Ture said was, every time Rap Brown says, I'm going to burn this country down, they get a poverty program. Meaning, in response to, in order to lessen the likelihood of there being actual revolution, the black bourgeoisie gets
Food
money from the
stamps.
government. They get funding. And it's interesting because I was thinking back the other day, I was listening to a lecture, and it made me think about George Floyd and the the rioting that took place after that.
Yep.
And I thought about a lot of the people that were very upset about the young people that were, running up in Foot Lockers, stealing sneakers and everything. And I'm like, okay, I understand. Not to say that I would want my children doing that, but I understand it. But the thing is, a lot of Black people today, right now in 2023, have jobs and have positions because those Black kids was looting and rioting.
Whoa.
The same Black bourgeoisie that were complaining about those children, they actually should turn around and thank those children. Because it is because of those children that were looting and rioting. Just like Kwame Ture said back in the 60s, every time Rap Brown says, I'm going to burn this country down, they get another poverty program. Meaning the federal government or the state government gives them money to create a program for the youth, to have the youth, right? In position, right? To, teach them some skills or something like that. Why? Not because they want for Black children to be empowered, but because they want to prevent Black children from doing what? Burning the country down. Kwame Ture said this in 1968.
Ashe.
That hasn't changed.
Wow.
So you think back. So I was kind of ruminating, like I said the other day, and I was thinking like, wow, like, I know it's a couple of schools here in Philly, have never had always had white principals. All of a sudden they got Black principals now. It's like, like nonprofits and got some money to do this and do that and do that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. I'm not mad. Take your money. Get your money. Do what you got to do, right? But I think we should at least understand why you got that money.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let me down. This is a download, bro. We got to download what you just said. You're saying that when there's a threat to the property and to what America is, that they create a program or they create a way to infuse money into society so it can slow the people down, make them happy.
Definitely.
So that's what we see. I was saying Black is sexy now. Black ain't sexy. They just know that if they don't give us something, we're gonna go in an uproar. Is that what you're saying?
We'll burn it down. It's a protective insurance policy.
Oh.
It's an insurance policy because it's a delicate balance, right? So the balance, it's like, because you want to, if you're an oppressive group, an oppressive government, oppressive entity, you want to oppress the people, but you don't want to oppress them so much that they finally rise up and then, and challenge your power over them.
So in other words, you give them something, like you see all the nonprofit, all the money coming into the city. You got all this money coming in for these community programs, but it really is because they don't want you to burn the U.S. down or burn Baltimore down again.
And I'm going to be clear. I think take that money.
We're going to take that money, but I'm just saying.
But we should be clear about
where it came from.
Because a lot of people, again, lack critical thinking. Also, they're ahistorical. So they don't know that this, like Malcolm said, this is the same game going all the time. They're ahistorical. So they don't understand that this is a typical tactic, right?
Wait. Stop. Tell the people what everybody don't know it. You're a smart guy. Ahistorical. What's that, bro?
It defies the reality of history.
That's right.
Reality. Defies the historical reality, right? Like being political is a person that doesn't believe, right?
Got it.
So it's like that. Right, so people are ahistorical. They don't know that this is the same game going on all the time. What happens is, a lot of us end up making poor decisions because we see, oh, well, the white man from the corporation or this white political figure or whoever, he gave us a check, so therefore he gave me a check, so he's my friend, or he could. And gave these people a check, and now we got an after school program. Great. That don't mean he's your friend. He's doing, it's like what they say, impact versus intent, right? We have to be able to distinguish between the two, right?
Yes.
The outcome is cool. Again, take your money. You need that money, right? But don't be confused in the thinking, Oh, well, that's my guy. He's not your guy. He's only doing that because he knows, or his people know that. See, like, so a lot of people are not ahistorical. These people are not ahistorical. So they know that they know the effects of what their people have done. They know what we've experienced. You know, so they know that it's like this country probably should be burnt down, right?
Yeah.
But we want to prevent that. So we're going to give y'all some after school programs. We're going to give y'all some Pop Warner football teams, and we're going to build a new, Little League football stadium.
You're going to perform. This is the performance. Okay.
We want you to think that we're your friends.
Yes.
So, we want you to think that we're benevolent, right?
Right.
You think because we don't understand, we don't understand political strategy. It's a political strategy. It's a concession. But I bring all this up because this is mathematical thinking. This is an equation. Like you watching the equation, it's like, okay, the left side has got to equal the right side. Like, how does that match up? Like when you say, okay, he gave us a check, he gave a check for $100,000 to this nonprofit so they could start this after school program down the hill in Baltimore or in North Philly and here in Philly, right?
Real talk, yeah.
But yet, it's like, so you want me to believe that you're my friend now, but yet, where was you before, the young brothers was, kicking in windows and stealing sneakers out of Foot Locker? You didn't care until that happened. And look at everything else that you do. So
it's always a trigger.
Right. So when people say, well, when am I going to use this stuff? Why I need to know this stuff? They don't want you to know it because once you really know it and understand it and conceptualize, like mathematics, the same type of thinking that enables you to understand mathematical equations and how they work and how they balance and how to simplify them and how to, transpose and move some terms from the left side of the equal sign to the right side will enable you to sit back and look at the political landscape and just be like, okay, I see what they about to do. I see what they doing. They playing.
Wow. You hear that, guys? This is game right here. You got to know.
It's the same type of thinking. It's the same thing.
Wow.
You can't learn math.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, again, Amos Wilson, it's a political necessity for you not to learn math because once a lot of us really start learning it, then we'll be able to crack some of these codes and we won't fall for the okie doke. Like what Eddie Murphy tailpipe. We always fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
We do.
Somebody's our friend. We always want to have a friend. We so desperate to have friends because somebody cut a check. Pimps give money to prostitutes.
They're not their friend.
A friend might buy her a new fur coat, some shoes, give her a car maybe. He's not her friend.
It's all for something.
He's an investment.
Yep.
She is an investment.
Real talk.
So we have to understand that the same thing is at play here.
So you trying to say we the hoe and they the pimp?
We are in a lot of situations. In a lot of situations, but
real talk. That's it. We are the hoe, and we got to know how to maneuver around pimps.
We do, and to that point. So now, this is another thing that Amos Wilson talked about. He talked about because he was a psychology professor. He taught at Fordham University, or I think he taught at SUNY like New Rochelle somewhere.
Okay.
In Westchester, New York. Yeah. He talked about Skinnerian rats. B.F. Skinner and his operant conditioning experiments.
Yeah, but the rat eat each other after a while. Yeah.
One of the things he talked about that we as Black people have to consider is that when we're sitting in those classrooms, when B.F. Skinner is talking about that experiment, there's an experimenter and there's the subject, the rats. We want to identify with Skinner as the experimenter. But in terms of how Western society is set up, we actually are the rat, but we don't realize that. It's just like when people listen to like a lot of popular commercial rap music. It's a similar concept. Like you might hear Meek or somebody rapping talking about y'all niggas broke, y'all niggas don't get no money, I'll fuck your bitch, this and that, right? You ride a car, you listening to it, you're trying to identify with Meek, but no, actually Meek is talking about you as the listener.
He's not talking about self.
Right. You're not meant to identify with. And a lot of people, but when we listen to music, it's a form of escapism. So we escape to a fantasy, right? But it's like, yeah, like I am rich. I am independently wealthy. You know, I do have like, you know, women are a commodity for me, and I do have many what I consider beautiful women at my disposal. So when he's rapping those lines, you're identifying with him, but in fact, no, he's talking about you. Just like Amos Wilson talks about with Skinner and the operant conditioning rat experiment. In America, we are the rats.
We are the rats.
How do we maneuver through the maze? How are we stimulated? When they give us food, how do we respond? When they stop giving us food, how do we respond? When they give us more food, how do we respond? When they put chemicals in the food, how do the rats respond? So that's what's happened. So part of our fundamental problem, he states, is that we don't know who we are in these scenarios. And because we don't know who we are in these scenarios, we can't properly plan to get out of these scenarios.
And what would help that? Math is understanding concepts, understand solutions.
It's a form of thinking. It's
just a form of thinking. So we're not even talking about we're not even talking about going and doing addition or long division or geometry. We're talking about the concept of math and how it applies to life.
Everyday life.
Everyday life.
Everyday life.
And if we're African people who are math, we definitely got to understand math.
We got to.
We got to. Wow. You blew my mind tonight. I've talked to you before. Real talk. I'm like, wow. I mean, because the thinking that, because we see the manifestation of non-thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
We see it every day. We see our communities. We see what's going on. I hear people talking, and they talk at such a vague level sometimes when they're talking about things like politics. We're not even interested in politics, some of us. You know, that's like about, but all of it affects our lives. And because we don't have the thinking capacity, that's not for me. I'm gonna stay away from that.
Right.
But the problem is we're missing out because we are not thinking in ways that we can solve problems.
We got to solve problems. We got, and you know, another thing too, one thing that's been marketed to us is this like form of status. We've associated status, or we've been conditioned to associate status with not having to solve your own problems. So if you have the ability to outsource the solutions to your problems to somebody else, that means you're living good. That means you're on point. You know, you're getting money. You know, you're elite. Because I don't even got to solve my own problems. But it's kind of like responsibility. It's like one thing I say is that, you know, you have to covet your responsibilities the same way you would covet money. Like your responsibility like my responsibilities, I look at them as a valuable possession. My responsibilities are a valuable possession. But we're conditioned to want to like, well, you know, I don't want to be responsible for that unless somebody else does that. No, you got to do that.
You got to do that.
Your responsibility is something that you should covet, because other people will come through and they see the value in responsibilities. So they'll kind of try to slide up on you real smooth and be like, yo, let me take that kid. Let me take care of that for you. And it would be like, we'll think, oh, they're being nice. You trying to do me a favor. No, they're hindering you. They're what's the term?
They're enabling you.
They're basically hindering you. So
yeah,
you won't be able to solve the problem for yourself. You never learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And all along you thinking, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I don't need to start my own independent school. You know what?
That's like social engineering, don't you think, though?
Definitely.
We're in a society where we're socially engineered. The way someone feeds us, someone takes care of us, everything is outsourced. It's like, what are you personally responsible for? Some of us are not even personally responsible for our families. We give that to others. You know what I'm saying?
And it's not even people from our own community. It's like people from outside communities.
Absolutely.
Well, let me provide this for you, and let me provide that for you. And it's like you say, well, you know what? Yeah, maybe we should start our own school. No, and you know, the white liberals come in and say, nah, let us do that for you. We got you. We're gonna take care of that.
And they got the money, and you know, make it seamless.
And then there's another game, right? Because like we'll be even more likely, because they try to play both sides against the middle, because they'll be like, look, the white Republicans, and I don't bang with them neither, but they don't want you to have nothing. They don't want you to have a school. They don't want you to be educated at all. But look, let us start the school. Let us run it. Let us develop the curriculum. Let us provide for your children. Let us give them everything they need. And then it's a power game.
They're doing the same thing though.
They're doing the same thing. And so
They're not doing anything but performing, performing also.
we,
They're
and
probably just saying I'm not even going to perform, but they're just performing. Nothing's getting done.
we got to do this stuff for ourselves. We have to. Got to be We got to be self-reliant. So this is why one of the main reasons I started the All This Math YouTube channel, because I want not only young people to be able to go into the channel and learn math at their own pace. I've decided, I have the audacity to believe that I can teach math to the entire Black community, right? I also want parents to be able to go into the channel and learn math that they maybe never learned in school when they were younger, or to brush up on the skills that they forgot about, or that they just need more practice with because they haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
I want for parents to be able to help their own children with their homework, because I want to empower us to be able to, help our own children with our homework. That's such a fundamental thing, but it's such a thing that is lost on so many of us, especially with the Common Core, because Common Core is like.
Is that why Common Core is here? Why would you start a new? Nothing's wrong with the old math.
So yeah, true. Nothing's wrong with the old math, the so-called old math. But I would say this: from having studied the Common Core, and I wasn't a fan of it at first myself either, but when I really studied it because I had to teach it, realized that it is a good preparation for algebra. So a lot of students, right? They'll be like, I liked math, and I've heard this a lot throughout my career. I liked math until they introduced the letters, right? It was the algebra. They didn't like the algebra because it was a rough transition, right? It wasn't a smooth transition into it, and they weren't prepared for it. What the Common Core, a lot of the Common Core does, and a lot of these curricula that are created around it, it instills and teaches those algebraic concepts at an early age. But that's difficult because a lot of teachers, here's another problem. A lot of teachers went into education because they wanted to help young people. They worked at a summer camp and they liked it, and they're good people. They want to help young people. They like children, right? But they decide, okay, well, I'm gonna teach elementary school because I have a phobia around math and I didn't really like math, so I'm only going to teach on an elementary level, trying to avoid those algebraic concepts. But now here you got Common Core, which is really all algebraic concepts. You're a first grade teacher. You love children. You love teaching. You want to do something positive for the community, but you're still scared of math. But now you gotta woman up or man up, and you got to deal with it, because now the curricula forces you to have an understanding of algebra so that you can teach elementary level math, which is a good thing actually, because at some point those children are going to be in middle school, they're going to be in high school, and they're going to need to understand and embrace algebra. And that's only if we focus on it within a school setting. But what about in everyday life? In everyday life, we need to have algebraic understanding, right? We need to be able to figure out unknown values. That's all algebra is, figuring out an unknown value, right? In any type of scenario. That's all algebra really is.
That's all it is. Wow. So we know that common practice is you want an uneducated class. We see this. We see in how schools are shaped and how what's going on in society right now. Why would you introduce a Common Core that has more algebraic principles that makes it easier to transition into the letters if you don't want people to learn math?
So my belief is that, well, a couple of things are happening. I don't think the teachers have been properly trained in terms of how to actually translate it effectively. That's okay. Also, the parents aren't given support in terms of how to understand it. So that's something that I'm taking upon myself to try to do. Parents. I want, because then actually, and that will end up making the work of it will
help the teacher
classroom experience more efficient and more, because what happens oftentimes is teacher introduces a concept during class. Child may or may understand it, right? May not understand it. Goes home, there's no reinforcement. The parent doesn't understand it either. They can't help with the homework. There's a lot of negative propaganda around Black parents that indicates that Black parents don't care about education. I would argue Black parents do care about education. Again, statistics, the majority of Black parents do care about education, But at the same time, a lot of Black parents don't understand enough to be able to really go in and really be able to offer the support that their children need.
Got it.
Back to school the next day, they didn't do the homework. They couldn't do the homework. Didn't understand the homework. A lot of students in the classroom are in that situation. So the teacher almost has to start over. If we were able to educate the parents, right, or create opportunities to educate the parents, which is what I'm going to be doing going forward in the near future, then the parents can provide homework help. Students come in the next day. Now we're reviewed. They're ready to roll. They're ready to roll because we're just continuing what we did yesterday, and we're building on what we did yesterday, and now we can move on to the next thing, as opposed to, damn, it's almost like I got to start all over. What we did yesterday is almost irrelevant because y'all like didn't really understand it. You didn't get the reinforcement at home last night, so now, and now we lose our rhythm. We don't have no educational rhythm because.
So this is where the problem starts.
Yeah,
you start hating math.
But exactly. This, we have to fix as a community. We have to fix that on our own. Again, like I said earlier, I have very low faith in as an infrastructure. Very public schools and charter schools. Anything we don't control. Like another thing H. Rap Brown said back in the 60s, anything you don't control can be used as a weapon against you.
Wow, you better say it. Now that right there is a message.
I believe we see it all. We see it all the time.
We see it all the time. We see it all the time.
No control can be used as a weapon against us. So I think, even though again, I believe in dialectical materialism. Nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. It's positive and negative and everything. You can gain a lot from public school. I'm a product of public school. I gained a lot from it. There were some things that were harmful, cultural violence, being taught that, the superiority of Europeans, that's what in very subtle ways, sometimes very explicit ways, but a lot of times very subtle. It's the subtlety that's even more dangerous. But I think that we just have to do these things for ourselves. Like we have to, because I think we're human beings and we got limited time and limited energy on Earth. We got limited energy on Earth and limited time, and we got limited resources. And so I sit back sometimes and I think, well, how am I going to use my limited time, energy, and resources? And for me, I could either try to agitate and try to get these white people to act different, or I could take that same energy and I could act different. And I could try to build something. I could try to create something that we can use and our community can use.
Yeah.
Make them irrelevant. Because here's the thing. When we talk about, white supremacy theory, it's hinged on centering whiteness and centering Europeans.
Absolutely.
I believe in being African-centered because I'm a person of African descent.
Absolutely.
I want to center African people in everything I do.
Everything.
Even when you complain about white people, and this is why they let us do it so much. They let us do it on Facebook. They let us do it on Instagram. They let us do it wherever, on TV, on the radio, because it still centers them.
Yep.
It's not radical. There's nothing radical about complaining about white people. And you got people that don't understand history, again, and don't have the critical thinking ability because they don't have the mathematical training to understand that that's not radical. There's nothing radical about complaining about what white folks are doing. White folks are going to be white folks. Like Jay said, they was who they was before they got here, right? There's nothing radical about doing that. What's radical is not talking about them. I mean, yeah, sure, we got to talk amongst ourselves and
we need to create institutions though. We have to create spaces for ourselves to grow and for us to manifest what we want out of our own community. We cannot wait for them. We can complain, but it doesn't do anything, and they let it happen because I guess they think if we blow off smoke, we won't blow nothing up. So let them talk, but they're not doing anything more than anything. So we do have to create institutions. You know what? We an hour and 18 minutes away. We didn't even get into some of these comments. I didn't even get to YouTube. Dr. Da hit me saying that I'm not interacting with my YouTube members, but that's not true. This conversation is just big right now. And this brother, he's speaking paragraphs. You got to let him speak. So I got to let my brother speak because he's a teacher. Teachers are like preachers. They talk. That's what they do. But let me, he said one thing that I like. He said, absolutely. He said, math is bigger than a futile activity. It has predictive power.
Yeah.
That's heavy right there.
The formula, matter of fact, so people say this. I'm glad you brought this up. y equals mx plus b. To that point, that enables you to predict what y is going to be. Because if you know what the slope is, and you know what the y-intercept is, you know what m is, and you know what b is,
You got what?
put any value for x in.
Yep.
This calculate our paycheck. We could predict what our paycheck is going to be, right? By just okay, well, how much do I get paid per hour? That's m. That goes
hours.
for m.
Yep.
How many hours did I work this pay period? I put that in for x. Now, unless you work, you get a I don't know, you probably won't have a y-intercept. Let's call that's going to be 0, right? Because you get paid hourly, right? Just multiply them two numbers together. That's your y value. That's your pay, and that's what everybody does, right? So we do use y equals mx plus b. We just didn't know that we were using y equals mx plus b, and we have to use it because we have to calculate what our paycheck should be, so that way we make sure that everything is congruent. Because if I calculate that I was supposed to get $800 on my check, but yet my check, and let's say gross. I mean, we understand about taxes and FICA, right? But let's say gross, I was supposed to have $800, but gross, my check only says $640. Something ain't right.
You get ready to compute that.
We got to have a conversation.
Yes.
Because I'm missing a $160. We got to have this conveation. But
we use math though, bro. We use math when we have to. Everyone does. I mean, when you're computing, you're spending money. You try to short some people. They can count some money. So, we use math, and especially when we're working, we got to know. A lot of us need to know what we're gonna make next week, because we might got to borrow on that check. We got to go to check cash and get a little bit on top of that until the paycheck period ends. So we got to know what we're making. So the process is, you're saying that math has to be utilized on a daily basis. It has to be a part of everything that you do, so you can expand that knowledge.
Definitely on a daily basis. And also we have to understand that, a lot of times we're doing mathematical processes and we don't even realize it. Like crossing the street is a mathematical process. That. If a car is coming, in your mind, you have to calculate, you may not think of it as a calculation, because you're not taking out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen or nothing, but you have to calculate, okay, the speed of that car, how fast do I have time to get across the street? Can I walk across the street, or can I do a slow bop and look cool, or do I need to run, or is it worth it, or should I just wait? When you have to do that, that's a mathematical calculation. That's using the distance, rate, time formula.
You're killing me. I gotta throw that distance, rate, time formula to a lot of people. They get on my nerves. They're not computing correctly, bro.
Even as a driver, you're on a two-way street.
Yeah.
Left turn. It's oncoming traffic coming. Oncoming cars coming. You got to determine, do I have time to make that turn?
Real talk.
That's a mathematical procedure. That's math.
That's math.
It's just common sense, or it's just something I do. No, that's math. You're doing algebra.
That's it.
And it's innate. It's innate within you. You're doing algebra. Now, there's a way that we could come out. We could take the like when when car accidents happen. God forbid, there's cars. Unfortunately, there are car accidents, right?
Right.
You can insurance investigators can use mathematics to find out how fast the car was going by measuring the skid marks on the street.
They measure. Yeah.
They can do all of that. It's all math. Everything is math.
Everything is math. When someone getting shot, they're measuring projectiles, how far they went. All of this is math.
Yeah.
And that becomes a part of the case. That's how they know someone, and they can break down how someone was killed. A lot of times it's the projectiles, how they move, how far they are to the victim, all of that. So math is everything. A lot of people don't want to deal with it, but listen, math is everything. I think technology hurts us in a lot of ways. Technology is a boundless, amazing instrument. That's why we got all this math. But a lot of times technology, you're seeing, is taking away people's ability to do math. You go to the restaurant now, they can't count. No one can count anymore. Everything, the calculator is on your phone. So you just go there. So no one's really counting. You're not doing any metrics in your head. Everything is so daggone smart around you that you don't.
And that cognitive practice is very important, because
it's important.
Some neuroscientists will tell you that's one way to prevent dementia from doing cognitive practice. So go ahead and practice, like, every once in a while, like, don't pull out the calculator. Don't go to the calculator app on your iPhone. Don't do that. Like, do the calculation in your head. It's gonna help you. It's gonna help.
Listen, that's a jewel right there. You dropped a jewel right there. Listen, you got it. We didn't even get to talk about the histomatics because, I love your histomatics. I wanted to talk a little bit about how history and mathematics come together, your little joint.
Next time, we'll talk about.
Next time, you got to come back. I mean,
we'll talk about my book. I got a book coming out next month. I've been procrastinating on it for a while, but
I'm book, bro. You got a book coming?
Yeah. It's called How to Use All This Math, Volume 1. It's really a guidebook for parents. It's mainly for parents, but anybody can use it. It's for the whole community. But it's where I give examples where in everyday life, everyday situations, as parents, even if you feel like you're not strong at math, we can teach about ratios, proportions, negative and positive numbers, percentages, fractions, all the things that when children go to school, because what happens is a lot of our children, they go to school cold when it comes to math. When I say cold, I mean, it's like they haven't been really practicing those things in the household. Whereas in the same household, a lot of people have parents or come from households where, their parents are using advanced vocabulary. So when they sit in language arts class, they're like, okay, cool. I know that word.
Yeah.
But when they go to the math class, they're like, oh,
none
shit.
of that.
I never seen this before. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like level that up. Like, because I want when you go on language arts, if you come from a household where your parents are using a certain type of vocabulary, where your parents are reading books to you and whatnot, that's cool, right? So I'm trying to like be able to say, okay, cool, I'm gonna make it easy for you. Do these things. And I got like 20 chapters with 20 different examples, of different types of math that can be done. And this is volume 1. I named it volume 1 because I already got the outline laid out for volume 2 already. Because I just be constantly like just seeing like different ways, like just all around us, like where we can create math opportunities to teach math.
Bro,
right?
You walk in mathematics.
Using receipts. Every time you pump gas, you can keep that receipt. You can use that. There's a lot of math you could do just off of a gas station receipt. Wow. What is it? The any type of food container. Any type of food container. There's a lot of math in that. The servings, the ingredients, all of that. It's all inside the book, inside volume 1.
So the book is coming out next month. Listen, I want to say to you, you spread like mustard, and I love that. I let me tell you, I'm telling my Black Boxers get a little transparency on you. You came on I had Black educators, all men.
Yeah.
I think in 2021, because men are such Black men are such a small proportion of teachers. And I wanted to hear from you guys. So we had a great conversation. And then I talked to you afterwards. You were just starting this channel. You didn't have any subscribers. You probably you got 100,000. You got 100 nickel right now, bro. You doing big things over there on YouTube.
2,000. We just hit 2,000.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get that formula, bro. I need them ratios for Black Box Radio. I need the ratios you putting out there. That's what's up. So you're growing.
Let me know. If you want to do some cross advertisement, I'll help you out in any way I can.
Yeah. I was really joking. Yes, of course. We always want to do that. I want to do that, but I'm really commending you for your growth and you going after it. I see you on a lot of shows. You're doing great things. And this math thing, we need to hear it. Continue. Do not stop. I really appreciate you got this book coming out for parents. Black parents need to be more math literate. A lot of us, we learned the old math, a lot of us, and that need to be reapplied and readjusted because there's some new stuff coming out. And so even math has been technologically changed. In other words, like brought to a different area. So I want to commend you on what you're doing. I think it's amazing. We're math, Black people math, and we need to really have math as like a leading part of how we think. Because from what you're saying to me, you blew my mind tonight. Like you can apply to everything. Wow.
You gotta be able to see it.
You gotta be able to see it. Now I see it a little more. I'm looking around differently. I got some new eyes on.
Listen, before we go, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I was about to tell you to do a jewel, and you just knocked it down. What's the jewel again?
Once you start to see the math around you, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Mm.
So and that's how you start to develop the relationship with math, and you're not trying to have just the one night stand no more.
You can't unsee it.
It's courtship now. Now it's courtship.
We got to court that thing. If it's gonna manifest into us being better thinkers, critical thinkers, consequential thinkers, and for us, young people, and just anyone to problem solve, it will change the way we are as a community. We see the manifestations of lack of math or lack of thought.
Mm-hmm.
What if we just, like you said, what if the squeegee boys can do calculus? Just what if?
They'd have more opportunities. They'd have other opportunities, besides that, so
I think they think bigger than squeegee. Their mindset will be bigger than $1.
And they might still be squeegeeing, but they might be like, okay, I'm just doing this right now.
Yeah.
Because there's an opportunity right here. But this isn't, this is just for right now. I might be doing something else.
Exactly.
We're playing
or innovate it with thought,
Exactly.
Wow. Listen, Akil, you got to come back. I love talking to you every time. The swag you got, the knowledge, your content. I always tell you, I love it, bro. You're always bringing it.
You gotta know what you're talking about. You gotta study. You gotta study and know what you're talking about. You can't be like some of these people out here, man.
Because you got your books, but they real books.
Yeah.
You know where they are. You know what I'm saying? People got books behind them. That's why I got a sign behind me, bro.
Yeah. Can't fake it till I make it. I have not read all of these, just to keep it a bean. Like I haven't read all of these, but they're references. I've picked them up and like looked through some of them. Some of them I haven't read, but I got notes in them. I got thoughts. I got ideas, questions. I be drawing boxes around key figures and underlining stuff, highlighting. You know what I'm saying? Some of these books are battle tested. These books have been with me places. But
I love that. I love that. What I will say is that what I see from you is a Black man that is, still cool, still relevant, smart, just going another route. We got to understand that we all can't be entertainers. I like when you said you said it's a guess that you might be an entertainer, or you might be in the NBA, you might be in the NFL, but you can be an educator. You can be a scholar. It's just do the work. You can be a mathematician. All those things can happen. And matter of fact, you can do some of this stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
So we gotta have, I think math will give us that thought, and we just have to invest in ourselves and think more of ourselves. And I like what you bring to the table: the swag, the content, the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I love that bbR. And don't come to Baltimore again, and we don't meet, bro. This is about the 5th time. Like you go. This is like your 5th time, bro.
Yeah, we're gonna make that happen. Because
you gotta holler at me when you come to B-more. Because you from B-more. Everybody need to know that. You from here. Tell the people you'll be more boy.
That's true. I can tell the people because I'm not like the kids. The kids be like, man, I can't let people know my ops might be watching. I'm like, that's not a kid.
Real talk.
They don't post on Instagram until after they leave.
Yeah. Yeah, you ain't got no ops out here. You from you B-more boy.
I don't think I had those kind of problems. I think I'm cool. I should be cool.
You should be cool. You should be cool. Listen, you got to come back. We got to do this again. We're gonna stay on this. Math is so important.
Yeah.
And
I want to have more positive conversations. I want us to, within our community and within the culture, there should be more positive conversations around math. More positive. Because what happens is like people have the negative conversations and they end up, that's a way to trauma bond. They trauma bond because they had negative experiences in school. Yeah. So I want to have positive conversations and let people know, like, listen, it's not too late. You can still learn it. And, you definitely you want to learn it if for no other reason to be able to help your children. Because we like having sex and we don't use condoms. So we're going to have babies. That's inevitable. People are going to be out here having babies. So your babies are going to need to learn math. So you need to learn math, right? You need to learn math so you can help them with their homework.
I like you took it back to the hole and then you went on and you put that math in there. That's what's up.
Yeah, your kid, you're going to have kids.
You're going to have kids. That's what's up. So we got to teach them.
People don't want to strap up. So, you're going to have kids. You're going to have kids who have homework. You need to learn it so you can help your kids with the homework.
I
That's
love that. I love that. Listen, that's it. You left the last jewel on it right there. That's a message. So,
yeah,
Akil, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for and thank you for what you're doing with the community. Just loving the community enough to bring information and start a system that we can start informing ourselves. That's next level. It's not about talking anymore. We got to start institutions.
definitely, definitely.
So, subscribe to All This Math Guys. Go on YouTube. Subscribe to this man's channel. Parents, check out his videos. It will change your state of being. I'm telling you. All right,
Thank you.
Akil. I appreciate you, Black Boxes. We are boxed up and out. Can I get them deuces, bro?
Peace.
Peace. We gone. Don't go nowhere, Akil. You stay right there.
All right.